After extensive testing, I've come to the conclusion that Roids are pretty doo-doo. But surprisingly enough, they do have one meta matchup where they are actually favoured. Stealth Union has a weird relinquish-like effect that allows it to just eat monsters, so if it decides to eat Yubel, it simply stays on the board, so it doesn't get to activate its summon effect, so it doesn't get to bring out the next form. And on top of that, Roids have a version of polymerization that is just a big slap in the face to any destruction effect. So if you're looking for a really shitty way to counter Yubel, here it is. Honestly, I'm not gonna lie, this took me a long time to build. It took me a very long time to be able to build a stable deck that was able to summon Stealth Union consistently, and in a way that would occasionally actually win the game. I will say that this version of the deck list is a lot better than when I first started building the deck, and that this one actually has climbed me a few ranks in the KC Cup, but I would not use this as my competitive list if you're going to try and seriously climb. Alright, so the boss monster of your deck is Super Vehicroid Stealth Union. This card has 3 effects. The first, when it attacks, its attack is halved until the end of the damage step. This is counteracted by a field spell later on, but we'll talk about that later on. The second, it can take control of one card your opponent controls once per turn and equip that card to this monster. If it is equipped with a card, it can then attack every single one of your opponent's monsters once per turn. And the third effect is simply it has piercing damage, so it can hit a defense position monster and still inflict battle damage to your opponent. So there are a couple of things to note with this card. First of all, it can equip multiple monsters. Second of all, it cannot equip machine type monsters, so if you're versing an ancient gear deck, you're probably screwed. To summon your boss monster, you're going to need 5 cards. The first is Vehicroid Connection Zone. This card is basically just polymerization, only it only works for Vehicroid monsters, and it makes it so that the Vehicroid monster cannot be destroyed by card effects, and its effects cannot be negated. You then have your 4 Roid monsters. Expressroid, when summoned, allows you to add 2 Roid monsters from your graveyard back to your hand. Stealthroid, when it attacks, at the end of the damage step, you can destroy 1 spell or trap card on the field. Truckroid has a similar effect to your boss monster in that if it destroys one of your opponent's monsters, you can equip that monster to this card, it will gain attack equal to that monster. And Drillroid, if it attacks a defense position monster, will just destroy that monster. Of these Roid monster abilities, the only one you'll actually notice really is Expressroid, since this card is actually needed for the deck. There's a reason you run 2 of them, it's basically because you will be sending a lot of your Roid monsters and combo pieces that are needed for your fusion to the graveyard, and you'll need Expressroid to bring them back to your hand. As sending your Roid monsters to the graveyard is a really good way to search for them when you've got Expressroid in the deck. You then have 2 powerful search tools to search for your Roid monsters. The first is Mixeroid. Basically, when this card's on the board, you can destroy it and search for 1 Roid monster from your deck and special summon it to the board. It also has a bonus effect, where it can be banished from the graveyard along with as many Roid monsters as you like, up to the level of a fusion monster in your extra deck. You can then special summon that fusion monster as long as it's a Roid monster, but it will be destroyed during the end phase. The second search card is probably your most powerful. The second card is Megaroid City. What this allows you to do is target 1 card you control, destroy it, and if you do, add 1 Roid card from your deck to your hand. If any of your Roid monsters decide to battle, you can switch the attack and defense of any of those Roid monsters by sending 1 Roid monster from your deck to the graveyard. So not only does this card come with 2 ways to search for your Roid monsters, it also comes with a counteracting effect for your boss monster, since your boss monster normally halves its attack when it decides to attack, and this card allows you to switch the attack and defense of your boss monster during the damage step, therefore bringing its attack up to 3000. Keep in mind, this effect is only a once per turn thing, so you can't just attack every single one of your opponent's monsters with 3000 attack, you can only do it once per turn. The only other thing to keep in mind with this card is that it can search for your fusion spell as well. That's why we only run 2 of them, because this card can basically act as another 3. The rest of the deck is basically just whatever you want to run, it doesn't really matter, it's just whatever generic back row you decide to use. This is just the back row I decided to use and was the most effective for me. The only other thing to talk about with the deck list is the skill. The skill I chose is Check Out My Ride. Basically, whenever you take 1000 points of damage, during your draw phase, you can choose one of your Roid monsters and choose to draw that card instead of your normal draw. Alright guys, that's basically it for the talking part of this video. The rest of this video will just be 8 gameplays showing this deck list in action. If you liked the video, make sure to leave a like, subscribe if you're new around here, comment if you've got any questions or feedback. Thank you guys for watching, and I hope to see you in the next one. Also, join my Discord.
Hey, big brother, can I watch SpongeBob?
Shut up, Mokuba. I'm busy flagging YouTube videos to compensate for the fact that I have an extremely small penis.
Oh.